I remember an incident here in Atlanta where undocumented workers on a construction company were told they can't work because they didn't have the paperwork they needed. Well, $500 and 2 hours later, they were back on the job with the paperwork they needed. That's what worries me. Unscrupulous people that would do things.
Hobble the Postal Service and imperil mail-in voting, which of course he fears will help the Democrats in November.
Universal mail-in voting is going to be catastrophic. It's going to make our country a laughingstock all over the world.
The Postal Service Inspector General is examining changes made by Trump appointee and donor Louis DeJoy after an urgent warning to dozens of states that it cannot guarantee all mail-in ballots will be counted. In an internal memo on Thursday, DeJoy acknowledged unintended consequences to service, arguing cuts were necessary because our financial condition is dire.
Is he trying to discourage mail-in voting? Are you trying to discourage?
No, not at all. The steps that he's taken are trying to stop the tremendous losses that have taken place for many, many years. He's trying to streamline the post office and make it great again.
Mr. Trump has repeatedly claimed, without evidence, that mail ballots lead to widespread voter fraud, although he and Melania have requested mail-in ballots in Florida.
I've heard some people say they think that the reason the president doesn't want people to vote by mail is that polls show that people who want to vote by mail tend to vote for President or Vice President Biden, so this is a political calculation.
What we've never seen before is a president say, I'm going to try to actively kneecap the Postal Service to encourage voting, and I will be explicit about the reason I'm doing it.
Meanwhile, President Trump is struggling.
This campaign, in the deepest sense, is whether we respect the sacrifices the men and women died in defending American democracy against a president who really quite openly is trying to undermine our democracy. And I hope the American people come together, progressives, moderates, conservatives, to say, sorry, Mr. President, we may have our disagreements, but in America, we are a democracy. Everybody is going to vote, and we're not going to let you get away with what you're doing.
What would you tell voters right now that want to vote by mail but are nervous?
I would tell them, look, the average voter is put in a very difficult position. You are more than familiar with the fact that there are states which have discouraged mail-in votes, urged people to come to the polling places, and some of those people have become sick. So the average person is put in this terrible quagmire.
What a lie.
I want to participate in democracy, but I'm afraid to go out. The people who man the polling stations often are older people. They are afraid of spending an entire day dealing with other people who are voting. So what I would say to people is stay tuned. In one way or another, we're going to make sure that the people of this country have the right to vote, and Donald Trump is not going to undermine our democracy.
When you say stay...
My concerns about mail-in voting. What is it to prevent it? Someone to have given undocumented immigrants the paperwork they needed, which would pass scrutiny, to register to vote. What's to prevent that? Ask yourself that question when it comes to mail-in voting. I'm just saying, I got my concerns. I would prefer to vote in person myself.